This episode has been brought to you by Fornos Law Firm, devoted to optimizing your legal results at fornoslaw.com.
Welcome to Pushroom, Life After Injury podcast for October 18, 2012, episode 18. Special guest, Tobias Forrest. I'm Ray Pizarro.
I'm Boris Del Cid.
I'm Richard Bow.
We want to thank our audience for tuning in. In this episode, we have an entertainer amongst us that will be sharing his story. Tobias Forrest, welcome to the show.
Yes, Toby.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I think it's fantastic what you're doing here.
Finally.
Yeah, glad you could make it out, Toby. A lot of people need to be exposed to all these great things, quads and paras, and just the spinal cord injury community are being able to accomplish. So we're going to dive right into it, if you don't mind, and let people know a little bit about yourself, your story.
Sure. Well, I won't tell you exactly when I was born, but it was a lovely day. And,
I heard that.
But I guess the real question, primarily with people with spinal cord injuries, is how did you get hurt? When did you get hurt? What was life like before, and what was like after? Life before was extremely coordinated. You know, I think much like the daredevils I sit with at this table, we all wanted to. None of us were afraid of death, right? Maybe more afraid of life, but not so much of death. And so I was a crazy kid. I was a gymnast growing up. I was an athlete growing up. I was rock climbing every weekend and just living in an extremely coordinated body and not really having to rely on anybody. And I was studying to become a jeweler in Northern Arizona. I went to Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, this is what I want to do, is this and music. Found music to become part of my life. And then all of that changed, that coordinated life changed, when I suffered an injury. I shouldn't say suffer, right? When I experienced.
Well, we do suffer.
Injury.
There's suffering that goes along with that.
A little bit.
That tells you a little bit about who we're interviewing here. He experienced. I said I had the misfortune to. He says he's experienced. How did you get injured?
I was in the Grand Canyon. I was diving off of a waterfall. I had never been there before, but it's a beautiful place. Been in the Grand Canyon a ton of times, but not to Havasupai Falls, which is where I was. Mm-hmm. I was diving off of the waterfall, off the back of it, and someone I was with told me about another spot that they dove off before, and to go take a dive off it. I said, is it safe? I said, yeah, we dove off it before. And without question, I went and took a dive, and because they were taking a photo at the same time, instead of doing a backflip, I did a swan dive. So, when I dove in, it was too shallow because of El Nino.
Goodness.
Yeah. And so I hit the bottom. It all that pressure traveled down to the fifth vertebrae. It burst, C5 burst fracture. And so then I was underwater, and I knew what had happened because my father, ironically enough, owned a company that did spinal implants.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I was like, couldn't you have started Playboy?
Yeah, or something like that.
If you want to help me, if you want me to help fulfill your life's mission.
Vivid.
No, so then I was underwater. I couldn't move. I'd felt this shock of electricity go through me. And I said, wow, I know what's happened. I can't move. I can't breathe because I knocked all the air out of my lungs. Mm. And I held on for as long as I could. I fought as hard as I could. But at a certain point, I just became a realization that today is the end of my life. And once that realization hit me, I had a quick conversation with God, and said, thank you for life. Thank you for everything that I've experienced. And love really is the most profound thing that I realized in that moment of life and death, is that I know at some point in my life, I felt unconditional love. And then I realized that no matter who you are, no matter how much suffering you've experienced in your life, pain and torture, throughout history, every single person has had at least one moment in their life where they felt love.
Right.
And that's enough to end life.
Mm-hmm.
And to go, you know what, I experienced love, and to have had that experience is enough. I'm ready to go. I inhaled water. I drowned.
Right.
I died, and they couldn't find me under the surface because I was floating.
Goodness.
And fortunately, I floated up to a little girl that was playing by the edge of the water, and she saw me, and I'm sure she's having nightmares to this day.
Nice.
Guy in the water, oh my God. So then the people that were there fished me out. I'd been underwater for almost 5 minutes. They tried to resuscitate me. A doctor happened to be there on vacation. He came over and resuscitated and brought me back, and all these strangers went into saving my life. They made a human chain and carried me from one side of this waterfall to the other where the beach was. And so for these hours, these people took care of me, and I was in and out of consciousness, making jokes. Like, it was Memorial Day, so I was like, I'm sorry I ruined your holiday. And then I'd pass out again.
In and out.
Yeah. And so all these people went and saved my life, and I never will be able to thank them directly.
Well, they might be watching you. You never
Right.
know.
Well, that's kind of, I think, why entertainment became part of my life, is because of that. I thought, well, I can affect a room full of people as a therapist, or I can affect a world full of people as an entertainer.
Now, you've thrown a whole bunch of things here that we want to point out. First of all, you said entertainer. As an entertainer, we know you're a poet, you're a painter, you're an actor, you're a singer, you're a comedian. Oh my goodness! And on top of that, you hold a master's degree in science of in health, mental health. Tell us about that.
Apparently, I like to do whatever doesn't pay me.
But that was after your injury.
People go, "What do you do?" And I go, "Apparently, whatever doesn't pay me."
What happened to the jewelry design? You gave that up, and then what?
I think what happens, you guys know, I'm talking to like my rivals for parking spaces. But you know, your life changes dramatically and in so many ways, and physically is the primary thing that you notice. I was a jeweler before, and I had fine motor skills, and, you know, really had to do delicate things, and was a musician before I was ever, a singer before I was ever in a wheelchair. So I thought those things were done. I didn't realize that there's still the possibility of doing that.
So what gave you the bright idea to start a rock band?
It all came around by default. So with Boris, your question about, you know, why give up jewelry or to that degree, because I didn't think it was possible, and music was the same way. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't see anybody doing it. I was on a respirator for over 2 months, and I thought, how am I ever going to sing again? How am I ever going to do jewelry again? I went back to school and got a master's in psychology.
Beautiful.
And thought, okay, well, this is the way I can help people in my situation. I realized that I like to talk more than I like to listen.
How long? No, you're fine.
And I got issues with people that can't cope. So I'm not really that great as a therapist.
But how long did it take you to complete your master's?
It took a couple of years.
After your injury, of course.
And what happened in that time frame was right when I was about to finish my degree. I was given an assignment to portray someone with Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. So I went home and I wrote this whole monologue about this guy with Alzheimer's, and he relapses and thinks he's at the train station. And so I went and I did that for my class, and my whole class was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "God, I'm doing the old guy with Alzheimer's." And they were like, "No, how come you're not an actor?" And I said, "I don't know. I never thought about it." So I called up a good friend of mine, Danny Murphy, who's been in all the Farrelly Brothers movies. And he's a tremendous actor. He also happens to be a quadriplegic.
I met him at a function at UCLA.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. And I called him up. I said, "People tell me I'm supposed to be an actor." And he said, "Forget about it. I don't need the competition." And then he told me to go take an improv class. And so I did that and did improv comedy for a little bit, and had an opportunity to come out to UCLA and do research there. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's probably for me.
No problem. That's probably...
That's my fax coming in.
It's probably your agent telling you what
we have a gig.
Right.
your next gig.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, ultimately I had to make this life change. And then I realized maybe that's not the right path. Maybe I was on the right path before. I had an opportunity to come out to UCLA and do, locomotor training. Mm-hmm. So for any of the people who don't know what that is, it's where you get put into a parachute harness, you get raised up on a treadmill, and people help manipulate the walking pattern and build up your spinal cord memory. So that was the study that I came out to do. And in that process, that brought me around to acting because there was a scholarship that I tried out for, and it also brought me back to music because my guitar player from college happened to move to LA just a little bit after I did.
Can you talk a little bit about your band and you know how the group of guys got together and
Well, it came about I missed performing as a singer. And I was doing acting at that point, but the jobs are so few and far between. I had this opportunity to get together with my buddy from years ago, and we'd get together on Fridays, and you know, our third friend Jack Daniels would drop by, and you know, we'd start playing music and just ended up with a bunch of songs. And then we played those out a few times and we both said, we're a rock band, guys. We're not acoustic guitar in the corner of the bar, guys.
Right.
So he had a couple guys, he was going to Musicians Institute. He had a couple guys there that he knew. And we said, hey, do you guys want to do some shows? So that's how City Zen came about.
Now, two major things that we don't want to forget. First of all, you are in a movie that is coming out tomorrow. Tell us about that one. And also, I'd like to know, how did it end up, where did you end up on that contest of bands that not so long ago?
To go to London.
You're going to go to London?
No, we're not, but we wanted to.
Oh, you want it. Okay, so dissect those two.
Well, let's see. Let's start with the music because we're kind of on that right now. I'm in the 4th year of my band. Mm-hmm. It's been, you know, you go through changes in a band and you go through trying to find your sound in your music, and we're really diverse. So it's not every palette that, you know, is ready for it, but we can get you for a good 30 seconds. You'll love something that we do. And
for those who live under a rock, what's the name of that band?
It's City Zen. That's the word city and the word Zen, but it's one word, kind of like citizen. Mm-hmm. City Zen, like despite being surrounded by people, you can find peace within yourself.
And how many albums have you completed? I noticed is that the Cultural Vulture?
We did an album called Invisible Mental Tentacles.
Okay. Beautiful. How can you not like that title? You know what I mean? That's awesome.
And tell us about that contest that you
entered. This past year has been interesting because we've had some great opportunities. I mean, last year we played New Year's Eve on the Las Vegas Strip, and then this year we were in a big battle of the bands for Hard Rock Cafe to go and open up for Bruce Springsteen in London. So we got all the way and we won Los Angeles. So we beat out thousands of bands just for Los Angeles.
Right on.
But then, you know, the world comes down to how many likes are you getting in this world?
Right.
And there were bands from other countries. I mean, it was a worldwide competition that had millions of followers.
Goodness.
So
it's all about selling stuff.
Right. So unfortunately, we didn't make it to London, but we did make our stamp here in Los Angeles, our hometown.
Certainly did. Now, tell us about your movie, because that's coming out tomorrow.
Actually, it's out already.
It's out already?
We have to edit.
Richard, that's why they pay you the big bucks, Mr. PM.
Well, when this airs, it will be out.
Oh, so it hasn't.
It comes out hypothetically
yesterday?
Friday.
I don't know.
Comes out Friday?
It comes out on Friday.
And today is?
Today is
Thursday.
Probably gonna be Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hypothetically.
Go ahead.
So the movie, it comes out on October 19th.
Yes.
It is called The Sessions. It stars John Hawkes, Helen Hunt, and William H. Macy. And then I also play a character. And my name is Greg in the movie, and I play an oral sex expert.
Yeah. I forgot. You almost forgot to say the other actor in there, Mr. Tobias Forrest.
Right. No, I included myself. I have a short, small part, but it's very funny and it's typecasting. I mean, you just play the oral sex expert all the time.
Now,
That comes natural,
without
doesn't it,
getting
already, so.
too detailed, because this is a family show, are you consulted into how this is done in the movie,
No,
actually, as part of the movie, or what?
I think this is my first time to ever be able to say,
Mm-hmm.
you have to wait to see the movie.
Oh my God, you are a true actor. Thank you so much for that. Hey, now we always have a website that we promote.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give us the website for that trail and that movie?
Well, the number one thing to do is go to Fox Searchlight Pictures.
Gotcha.
Fox Searchlight has been amazing and picked this film up at Sundance. The Sessions won Audience Choice Award. It won Best Ensemble. It did really well, and then it got bought by Fox Searchlight, and now they're going to distribute this and bring it to select theaters around the country, around the world. So I just went to the premiere last week, and it was beautiful. So if you go to Fox Searchlight, or if you look up The Sessions just on Google,
Yeah, I'll look it up.
you're
and
going to find stuff.
We'll post the link on the site.
That would
and
be
make
great.
sure people connect with and read more about it.
You know, the thing about this movie, one is, it's poignant. I think it deals with a lot of issues that people are afraid to talk about.
Mhm.
It deals with disability. It deals with sexuality. It deals with, even if you go from the perspective of the director, he's not a young guy. So he's like, breaking the mold right there. And it really deals with disability in some ways that I haven't seen before.
Mhm.
So, Toby, we're going to have a show on sexuality and disability. Would you be able to come and help us out with that? And especially since you...
I can only quote my line from the movie. That's
okay, all right.
Well,
so,
Well, you're
That's all
you're
I've been
also-
trained to do.
Well, you're qualified. You got a mental health degree, right?
Sure.
All right, there you go. Enough qualification for me.
and the brain is the sexiest organ in the body, after all.
I have never been told that.
It is.
I guess that says something about my brain.
Hey,
So Toby, just
Yes.
real quick, I need to kind of share this with. Do you have any inspirational thoughts or something you could tell our newly injured people or people that've been
Sure.
injured for a while, not doing much out there, and kind of self-esteem issues, depression? What are things they could do to kind of jumpstart their life?
I think one thing that we all find our mantras, right? Our inner dialogue. What do we tell ourselves? It doesn't have to be every day, but it has to be on somewhat of a consistent basis, especially in a situation where you have a life-changing injury.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say, oh, this is divine intervention.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to happen. Or was this just an accident? And I've always said there's a fine line between fate and chance, and it's called a choice. Whatever one works best for you.
philosopher, add to that, to all your titles.
Right. So I've always felt that way. I think even before I had a disability there's a fine line between fate and chance, and it's really just that choice to go, hey, maybe this didn't happen for a reason, but now it's up to me to create a reason. Was there a purpose? I don't know, but do I have a purpose? Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think
That
we all
view-
struggle with that.
That's a fresh viewpoint that I have not heard from any of our brothers and sisters in wheelchairs. That I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah,
for
and
that.
our audience really, is in need of that. Just inspirational stories like yours and others that maybe you never know. You plant a seed in somebody and then you watch it grow. It takes I tell people all the time, it takes a resource or a phone number or just a person to talk to change someone's life.
For those of you who don't know, Toby has been in many other projects of the entertainment business. He's been in Weeds, 6 Feet Under, The Defenders, Malcolm in the Middle, and commercials. So don't think that just because you're, in a wheelchair and have some talent, you'll be in a movie. The guy's a trained actor.
He's
So-
also a trained wheelchair pole dancer.
True, right? Times are tough, Richard.
Anyways.
Times are tough.
The bills are always on time. Bro.
That's right.
You bring up something that is a major part of my life, which is the employment of people with disabilities,
It's huge.
right?
Yeah.
Especially in the entertainment industry, because 20% of our population has a disability,
Mm-hmm.
but you only see 0.5% of people in the media that actually have a disability or represent people with disabilities.
And that's a good
Yes.
point. And that's another show we're going to kind of bring up in the future is working disabled. You know, how
Right.
important it is to get back, not only for financial reasons, but mentally.
Yeah.
You know, getting yourself back in the swing of things.
Why weren't you the guy in Glee? Because you're the real thing. Oh, that's a whole other show.
I went to testing for it. I went
Yes.
all the way. And
Yeah.
I did my rolling on the river, you know.
Yeah.
I did
And
my
an
Proud
able-
Mary.
And an able-bodied.
And then I turned
Got
to
it.
all of the executives and the writers, and I said, "Thank you for seeing a guy who's legitimately in a wheelchair. I know I could have fathered every single person in that room,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
but thank
So-
you for bringing me
For-
this far."
Acknowledging. Yeah. In wrapping, we're getting close here to we're out of time actually for our cameras and stuff, but Toby, you want to let our audience know where they can maybe contact you or check you out, a website or things like that?
The best way to really support the music is to go to cityzenband.com. It's the word city, the word zen, band.com. You can also check it out on Facebook at
Okay.
/cityzenband. Again, go to Fox Searchlight Pictures and look up the sessions.
Okay.
And if anyone is around this weekend and wants to go out and see a beautiful, life-changing movie, then go watch that.
I'm sure doing it. Richard, tell us where to find us.
You can find us on YouTube. We're at Club Pushrim. One word. Just punch that in the search bar. Pull us up, subscribe, and enjoy.
And in social media at pushrim.com.
We're also on iTunes. Do a search for Pushrim and take us on a go.
Podbean.
Also, Podbean directories. If you guys want to get in contact with us directly, you could email us at info@pushrim.com. Anyone interested in sponsoring an episode or a show, feel free to connect with us. So
we're going to have you back, dude.
yes, definitely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pushrim.
Good luck.
That's right.
Checking out.
All right.
All right, take care and God
Peace
bless.
out.
Peace out.
All right.